All right. Well, it is a couple of minutes past 9:30, and so we are going to jump right in. My name is Jesse DeMembrian Chapman. I'm the Executive Director and Riverkeeper at Coosa River Basin Initiative up in Rome, Georgia. And I would like to welcome you all to the Georgia Water Coalition's 2021 Clean 13 report release. Before we jump in and I turn it over to the report's author, Joe Cook, and Environment Georgia Executive Director, Jeanette Gayer, we'll go over just a little bit of housekeeping. In order to reduce background noise, I'm going to mute all of the lines while we go over kind of the summary of all of our awardees this year. And once we are done with that presentation, you'll have the opportunity to unmute your line. And if anyone has any questions, we have quite a lot of our awardees here with us today, and they can speak specifically to questions that you have. And also you'll find in this slide deck and also in the report itself, contact information for all of our awardees. And so if you have follow-up questions that you're not able to ask today, we please do encourage you to follow up with our awardees directly. But the full report is up and live on the Georgia Water Coalition website, which is www.gawater.org/clean-13. And like I said, the contact information for all of our awardees are in that report. And we are going to jump in now. So first off, I'm going to mute everyone. And then I'm going to unmute our presenters. Once I find them. And I'm going to begin to share my screen for the presentation and hand it over to Joe and Jeanette.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate all of y'all being here today. We're gonna run through the report here. If I can get my screen to cooperate. When you shared your screen, Jesse, it covered up my entire screen, and now I can't get to anything other than that screen. Okay, I'm back. So a little bit about the Georgia Water Coalition. It is a consortium of more than 285 conservation and environmental organizations, hunting and fishing groups, businesses, and faith-based organizations that have been working to protect Georgia's water since 2002. The individuals and businesses, local governments, nonprofit organizations recognized in this report were selected through a process in which the coalition's member groups submitted nominations, and those nominations were reviewed by a small committee who whittled down our list to our Clean 13. We had quite a number of nominations, and we're really excited to be presenting this year's honorees in our Clean 13 report. Of course, we're releasing the report to celebrate these clean water heroes from around the state. The reports highlight the extraordinary efforts of these 13 honorees. Each of these efforts have led to cleaner water and stronger communities in Georgia. And in writing this report, I was really struck and inspired by so many things that people are doing. And whenever it comes time to write this report and I begin delving into the issues and the activities that the entities are doing, I always come away inspired by what we as individuals can accomplish for cleaner water and for better communities. And after writing the report, I told my wife, I said, we're going to make changes this year. We're going to do this, this, and this, and we are going to start doing better. So I hope everybody that reads the report will react the same way that I did after writing it. So let's start off over in Athens-Clarke County. Athens-Clarke County has embraced clean energy by adopting a goal of making its entire community powered 100% by renewable energy sources by the year 2050. Though just 15% of city-county facilities are currently powered by renewables, the Athens-Clarke County Commission has adopted a goal of having all its facilities powered by renewables by 2035, and then reaching the community-wide goal by 2050. In the university community, solar arrays are popping up on fire station roofs, and low-income neighborhoods are getting water and energy efficiency assistance. The program is funded in part by an innovative community energy fund, which takes a portion of franchise fees that utilities pay to the city-county for the use of right-of-ways. From Athens, let's move down to central Georgia and Fort Valley. In Fort Valley, the Bluebird Bus Corporation is embracing clean energy by ramping up production of its electric buses. The company, founded in Fort Valley in the 1920s, is now the country's leading manufacturer of electric school buses, with 700 buses either in use or on order. The company expects that by 2030, nearly 100% of its sales will be for electric or alternative fuel buses. By eliminating greenhouse gas emissions, this trend will lead to cleaner air for today's school children and a more livable world for future generations. Districts who are already using Bluebird's electric buses report that they are about 75% less expensive to operate and maintain than their diesel-powered buses. And from Fort Valley, let's cruise down I-16 to the city of Savannah. The city of Savannah is being recognized for its efforts to stem plastic pollution. Earlier this year, the city partnered with local restaurants and bars in the city's entertainment district on a pilot project to replace plastic to-go cups with infinitely recyclable Georgia-made aluminum cups. In fact, those aluminum cups are made right here where I live in Rome, Georgia. The pilot was so successful that additional restaurants are buying in and consumers are clamoring for the cups, taking them home as souvenirs rather than tossing them in trash cans or recycling bins. Said Savannah Alderman Nick Palumbo of the project, "We've got Georgia manufacturing, sustainability, and alcohol rolled into one program. That's a tough hat trick to pull off." So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeanette to introduce our next three honorees. Go, Jeanette.
Thank you, Joe. Love that quote from Alderman Palumbo. I am taking you back to Metro Atlanta, where the city of South Fulton this year voted to make their municipality the first in Georgia to implement regulations prohibiting private businesses from using plastic bags, along with, I'll add, their own municipal facilities. So other communities are watching and now starting to follow their lead. Nestled along the Chattahoochee River, the city is well positioned to really understand the consequences of plastic pollution, as large flotillas of plastic are unfortunately common sight on the Chattahoochee downstream from Atlanta's urban center. On now to Fayetteville, where Georgia Audubon and the Southern Conservation Trust are working at the very micro level, showing how little changes can add up to big impacts. So the two groups are partnering at the Sam's Lake Bird Sanctuary to eliminate invasive aquatic and terrestrial plants and restore them with native Georgia plants. The project is a lesson in the interconnectivity of all of our natural systems. So the native plants produce more insects, which in turn benefit the 138 bird species that live in or annually visit the 56-acre sanctuary of wetlands and wildlife. And then now to Madison County, where the Madison County Clean Power Coalition in rural Madison and Franklin counties, residents rallied together as the Madison County Clean Power Coalition to fight pollution from two local biomass to energy plants. When residents discovered the facilities were chipping and burning creosote-soaked railroad ties, They took their concerns to community and state leaders, and within a year, this small group of determined activists had secured state legislation banning the use of creosote-soaked wood at power generation facilities. The story is just a great lesson in the power of our democracy. And this is a great quote from Gina Ward, who I saw is on the call today. She said, "For so long, I felt incapable of making a difference. But ultimately, she learned that ordinary people can make a difference. You don't need an education. You don't need fancy language. You just need boots on the ground," said Gina. Now handing it back over to Joe.
Indeed, Jeanette, the story of what citizens did in Madison, Franklin counties is very inspirational and shows that our democracy does work. The next honoree is one that I think, as Deborah Cox, who's on the call, has mentioned previously, is that this might be the first time that a youth organization has been recognized in our Clean 13 reports. This is in the 5th year. In 2008, when Southwest Georgia was in the grips of a prolonged and severe drought, Mitchell County 4-H educator Jennifer Grogan hatched the idea of 4-H-2-O Camp to teach local students about the importance of water in Georgia's most productive farming region. Since then, hundreds of students and adults have learned about water conservation and other water-related subjects through the 3-day summer camp. Now, graduates of 4-H-2-O Camp are becoming science and water management leaders. Quote, "Before they can respect it or better conserve it, children need to learn the important roles water plays in their lives," said Grogan, who is now retired. "It's the essential ingredient in life and a healthy economy, particularly in Southwest Georgia." All right, from Southwest Georgia, we're going to go to Northwest Georgia, to Dalton. In 2019, Dalton became the home to the largest manufacturer of solar panels in the Western Hemisphere, with the opening of Hanwha Q-Cells facility, which annually produces enough solar panels to generate 1.7 gigawatts of electricity. That's about half the total capacity currently in operation in Georgia. Q-Cells chose the location in part because of the need to be close to the growing solar market in Georgia and the Southeast. Georgia, along with Texas, Florida, and North Carolina, rank among the top 10 states in terms of solar power capacity. And Q-Cells is striving to produce its panels with less impact on the environment. By using solar arrays to power the Dalton facility and taking other measures, Q-Cell solar panels have a carbon footprint up to 50% less than typical solar panels. All this suggests that the future for clean energy here is, yeah, you guessed it, it's bright. Pun intended. With that worn out pun, I'll turn it back over to Jeanette for our next 3 honorees. Go, Jeanette.
Oh, Joe. How will I ever top that one? All right, back to the coast. On the Georgia coast, Dr. Dionne Hoskins-Brown of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also called NOAA, has become an advocate for Georgia's coastal waters, and through a NOAA partnership with the Savannah State University, which is Georgia's first public university for African Americans, is working to diversify NOAA's workforce. During the past 20 years, Dr. Hoskins-Brown has made the historically Black university one of the nation's top producers of marine science graduates, some of whom are now working for NOAA, studying how climate change is impacting fisheries and coastal communities. When we interviewed her for the drafting of this, Hoskins-Brown said, "We need brilliance wherever it comes from, and we can do without the bias that says it can't come from a place like Savannah State." Hear, hear. Next, I want to recognize Patagonia. When it comes to supporting environmental advocacy and water protection efforts in Georgia, perhaps there is no business as committed to change as Patagonia. The iconic brand's retail store in Atlanta funds local environmental organizations, donates products to these groups, and provides employee volunteers for multiple causes. Since 1996, the store has invested $1.3 million in local environmental organizations. In a conversation with Emily Cruz, who's the store's environmental and social media coordinator, she noted, quote, "It's a running joke. The fleece is a side gig that allows us to provide the robust grants to local organizations. The icing on the cake is the activism that we do," end quote. And finally, I wanted to recognize, I saw Senator Chuck Hufstetler on the call, and also, I don't know if he's here, but Representative Andy Welch. So for Representative Andy Welch from Locust Grove and Senator Hufstetler from Rome, state budget spreadsheets get their legislative juices flowing. Thus, it's no surprise that they took up the cause championed by the late Representative Jay Powell of Camilla, and during the 2020 General Assembly session successfully secured legislation that restores funding for the state's environmental trust funds. The legislation initiated a constitutional amendment on the 2020 ballot that was overwhelmingly supported by voters. And during the 2021 legislative session, measures were adopted that will ensure that millions of dollars in fees collected for environmental cleanups will be used for that purpose. Thank you, Senator. Now handing it back over to Joe for, I think we've got two more.
Thank you, Jeanette. We are entering a no BS zone. I want to warn everybody, this is a no BS zone here. In the mid 1990s, when Early County farmer Will Harris decided to give up the pesticides, herbicides, hormones, and antibiotics on his traditional cattle farm, more than one of his neighbors looked at him curiously and thought him a bit crazy. But the 1976 graduate of the University of Georgia School of Agriculture and fourth generation of Harrises to work the family farm in Bluffton was convinced there was a better way for the animals, the land, and his family. Now the highly successful farm uses what they call regenerative farming practices to improve the health of the land and protect the water flowing from it. The 3,000-acre farm has been transformed into a zero waste living ecosystem that sequesters more carbon than its herd of 2,000 greenhouse gas producing cattle create. The farm employs 180 people and now attracts visitors from across the globe to see how they do it right there in little old Bluffton. And finally, staying in Southwest Georgia, we want to talk about Jim Wright. Jim is the Lee County Code Enforcement Officer, and he's become known for his work to clean Kinchafuni and Muckalee creeks and make them accessible for residents and visitors for boating and fishing. Leading community cleanups, Boy Scout projects, and the development of public access points along the creeks, the Lee County employee and his community have transformed these waterways. His work inspired Flint Riverkeeper Gordon Rogers to say, "If we had 38 gyms in the rest of the Flint Rivers counties, we could fold the operation of Flint Riverkeeper and do something else." So that completes our Clean 13. I will now turn it back over to Jesse, who will moderate our question and answer session if we have any questions questions from any of the media. Jesse?
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to leave this screen up for just a moment before I stop sharing just a link to the press release for this group of individuals and to the full report. Before we jump into questions, I want to take just a little moment to talk about the history of this report. The Georgia Water Coalition had put on a Dirty Dozen report for a number of years where we focused on so many prevalent failures to protect water across the state. And when this report came around, we ended up with year after year the most inspirational stories. And while the Dirty Dozen report is still the report that we often feel like we have to do, this is the report that I truly feel like it's an honor that we get to do. It's truly incredible to see and read in depth about all of the work that these incredible honorees are doing. I'm so grateful that they were able to join us today. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for anybody who has any questions. If you will, just state your name and outlet that you're with and who you would like to direct your question to.
Hey, Jesse, this is David Dixon. You got me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to do a story about Jim for the Albany Herald, but I don't want to step on the toes of the general report. So how is that going to be distributed to my newspaper? Or do I do that too?
David, I have sent a press release detailing all of the detailing the report to all of media outlets across the state, including the Albany Herald.
Okay.
So most newspapers will have it. It's up to them whether they do anything with it. So you can take whatever you want out of the press release and the report and use it in the story that you do.
Okay, I'll contact our editor and see when he usually runs it. I just wanted it to come, y'all's story to come first before I did my story.
Now, do your thing.
Maybe. Thank you.
Hey, this is Jill with the Georgia Recorder. Thank you all, first of all, for doing this. And I have a question, maybe for Senator Hufstetler, but really for anyone who knows the answer. But I just wonder if someone can provide an update on the trust fund money, if that money is starting to trickle down yet, and if not, maybe when we'll see that.
Well, the money is in the budget for this year that started in July. So I don't know what funds have been allocated to this point, but it will be in this budget year given out if not already on that. And while I'm commenting here, I will say Joe and Jesse had worked hard on a couple of issues. The fracking issue that we did with John Meadows, the late John Meadows, a few years ago. I think it went a little bit quicker than this one did. It took quite a few years to get this one done. And unfortunately, it was started by, again, the late Jay Powell. So I seem to take on legislation of others and try to get them over the finish line. But it's important, I think, for the trust of government that when we make laws that say these funds will be used here, that they actually will be used here. And I think that's part of my role as the finance chairman of the Senate, is to do that. And on a personal note with Joe, I guess I have to say my daughter, that since I've seen the Go Dog, she graduated from UGA and started on her PhD in geophysics at Oregon this year. So I think Joe's had more of an influence on her than I have. Our daughters had grown up together. So she's out there studying volcanoes and climate, whatever the heck it is geophysicists do. I don't know. But thanks for getting her off track from what I wanted her to be, Joe, anyway.
We caught a lot of fish and crayfish in the Etowah River growing up with Ramsey and Rebecca. Jill, to follow up on Chuck's answer, I have some data from EPD, and if you'll shoot me an email, I can share that with you. The finance director at EPD sent me an email and said that and gave me the fee collections for fiscal year 2021. The Solid Waste Trust Fund is 7.6 million. And then the Hazardous Waste Trust Fund is 7.6 million. And that'll be the basis, according to her, for appropriations in the 2023 budget. Chuck can probably correct me if that's wrong, but if you want to send me an email, I can forward you the information from Aaron Ruhoff with EPD. So in the past, those funds, of course, have been diverted, or have in some cases been diverted. Now, all of those funds should go to EPD to do the work that needs to be done.
Hey, this is Molly at WABE. Joe, I'm wondering if you could send me that email too.
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you. And then I have a couple questions on South Fulton on the plastic bags. Will you all just remind me the status? Is this the first city or municipality that's banned plastic bags? Or am I saying, I mean, should I not be saying that they're banning plastic bags? And also remind me the status of like Georgia trying to ban plastic bag bans, just like where does this, help me remember the context on all of this.
I noticed, I want to introduce Councilwoman Gums. I saw her. Did she disappear? Are you still there, Councilwoman? She is still there, but she's not coming off mute. So I will take a stab at answering your question, Molly, but Councilwoman, if you want to come off mute and interrupt me, feel free. So South Fulton's ban covers a couple different types of plastics, not just plastic bags, but it does include plastic bags. I'm happy to send you the actual resolution, Molly. And then the state of Georgia has not passed anything to ban plastic bags. There are a couple bills that have gotten hearings, but not crossed over. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming legislative session. There was an effort to preempt local governments from regulating single-use plastics a couple of years ago, and that failed. So these local governments are allowed to be doing what they're doing.
And Jeanette, correct me, Clarkston has since passed a ordinance addressing plastic bags as well. Is that correct?
Well, City of Savannah, so Alderman Nick Palumbo's on the phone, has a municipal ban on plastics. Same thing for Clarkston, same thing for the City of Atlanta, same thing for Fulton County. So, and I know there are other counties that are looking at, dealing with single-use plastics and waste on their own property. But we certainly applaud South Fulton for going even further than that.
That's right.
Another note on the plastics and doing research, and this is in the report, but it's just a striking statistic that I thought each and every individual in the US uses over 1,000 plastic bags each year. It's startling how many plastic bags we use.
And if you allow me a moment to do a little horn tooting, right? And this is a grand horn toot for us all. So congratulations to you all. What we really wanted to do here at the City of Savannah was find new products and partner with our local businesses to introduce them to new sustainable products and help celebrate that and use the city's cachet to help promote that as well. So hence the aluminum to-go cup manufactured right here in Georgia. And we'll be looking for new ways to do that as well. The biggest response that we've had so far from this program is that residents and visitors alike love having the option of doing right by our environment. So introducing those products, finding ways to partner and get them out there are going to be really important for Georgia's future. But thank you all so much.
Joe and Jeanette, this is Gordon. I'm obviously not a reporter, but my curiosity is killing me. I have a question for Mr. Moskowitz about what it was or is about the Georgia business environment that attracted Q-Cells to Georgia in the first place.
Yeah, thanks, Gordon. It's quite a few things. The first is that Georgia and the Southeast in general are actually the largest region for solar installations in the country. A lot of folks think solar, they think California, Arizona, really sunny places in the Southwest. But the market has evolved such that the Southeast is actually the biggest demand center for solar. And so for us, on one hand, this was the Southeast was a good place for us to be close to our customers. Why Georgia specifically? A bunch of reasons. One, obviously, you can look at the transportation network. The Port of Savannah is very helpful to a business like ours. Being close to Atlanta and the airport is helpful for our customers. Having Georgia Tech is helpful for getting engineers. And Dalton specifically has a really long and storied manufacturing history, particularly in the carpet and textiles sectors. And since 2008, 2009, they have been really trying to diversify their industries. Flooring is really runs with the ebbs and flows of the general economy and the housing industry. And so, that was a really tough time for them. And so it ended up being a really good fit for us when we moved in.
I thought it was just because Honeywell Q-Cells wanted to be close to the Conasauga log perch and all the other endemic critters that live in our beautiful rivers up here in Northwest Georgia.
Well, that too.
Georgia's only outstanding river.
I'll jump in with another question. This is Molly from WABE again. There's it seems like there's a few clean energy ones on this list this year. We've got, solar, Athens, Bluebird. I'm wondering if I guess really any of you could do this, help our listeners make the connection between clean energy and clean water.
I'll give it a quick first shot.
Boy,
Go ahead, actually. You're welcome to take it.
No, you go, Scott. You go.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One, traditional fossil fuels use a lot of water. They use water to cool. They use water for a variety of purposes. There's a lot of effluent that comes out of those factories. They change the temperature of the water, which can be really difficult for rivers, of course. Solar energy plants use no water. They don't need cooling of any kind. The manufacturing processes themselves are also very minimally water intensive. Our factories are run completely by electricity. You can see our factory in Dalton is partially powered by panels made in the factory itself. So it's a really low water form of electricity. What it replaces is heavily water intensive and impactful.
And to piggyback off of that, I think we can reference a perennial issue on the Dirty Dozen list that there's a lot of activity around right now, and that is some of the other consequences of fossil fuel power generation, specifically coal ash, and the desire to cap unlined ponds that are sitting in groundwater. So while there is an enormous amount of water that is used for cooling, there's also, toxic legacies after the generation of that power that has to be dealt with for years to come.
That is exactly what I was going to say, is there are consequences that come with fossil fuels. So coal ash is certainly one, climate change is another. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. We've got a couple sort of energy adjacent things that we're recognizing: fuel cells, Athens for their community energy fund, Bluebird, all really good examples of how I think the state is not only doing good by our rivers, but maybe also doing good by our energy mix.
I think what I learned from...
I'll add to that, go ahead, Joe.
No, you go ahead, Gordon.
Thank you. Molly, I'll add to that, I believe that we should always be cognizant of our impact on people at great distance from us when that happens. And there's a water footprint that's associated with oil and gas and coal extraction where it happens, in the communities where it happens, sometimes at great distance from us. And that comes in the form of mine tailings and tailings dams that frequently fail and destroy communities. It comes in the form of frack water and how frack water is handled, and also how aquifers are contaminated in places like Pennsylvania. So I don't think anybody's claiming that solar has a zero carbon footprint or a absolutely zero water footprint, because that's not true. It's just less, and it's a lot less.
And Molly, for your listeners, with the water energy nexus, you can say, hey, if you want to save water, turn your lights out when you're not using them. Switch off that light and you're saving water.
And what I was going to add is that in writing this report, it became clear to me that our state and our country is changing rapidly. We are fast moving towards a clean energy economy. And writing this report made me realize just how quickly we are moving in that direction. The fact that by 2030, Bluebird is expecting virtually all of its buses to be either electric or alternative fuel. That was really striking to me. And the pace at which solar arrays are going up around the state was also striking to me. So we are moving towards a clean energy economy. It's happening right before our eyes.
Well, if I could add one of the reasons it's happening, I know this group doesn't talk money much, but I am the finance chair, so I have to talk money. Joe knows that from the years in the past. But, you know, you look at solar, and solar, coal, natural gas are all in the 3 to 4 cent range now. And so it's helping to send it that way, because not only do you feel good, but you actually are economically competitive with it. You know, I would contrast that with one of my sore subjects, Plant Vogel, which I know a year or two ago, I haven't got the updated figures, but it was 13 cents a kilowatt coming out of that plant. At best, it's probably higher than that now with some of the more cost overruns. And that's going to have a detriment effect on our power bills, where solar is the opposite. So you, not only do you get the environmental advances and climate advances from it, but you actually are economically competitive. Now we've got this Rocky Mountain project in our county here that is basically a giant battery. It pumps the water up during the night and puts it down for peak usage during the day. And if we could ever find some way to harness something like that with the solar or other ways of battery storage per se, though that's sort of a clean battery when you do something like that, I guess I would say, then I think solar is going to have another big advantage. But it's growing all around the state, as Joe has said. It's economically advantageous to use it, which certainly helps people to make those decisions, as well as feeling good about what they're doing.
Thank you, Senator Hufstetler. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap this up? I just want to again repeat, I am so glad that you all were able to join us this morning in celebrating the 2021 Clean 13 awardees. Last call, any other questions?
I would just like to make a comment. Mitchell County 4-H is so honored to receive this award this year. Our 4-H 2.0 day camp has been in existence for 14 years. And we have a lot of youth that come through our program learning how to conserve water. They learn about the basis of water usage with agriculture, industry, and even to have some fun. So we find we're going to keep doing this because we've got some youth that have gone on. We've got one that's working on his doctorate in atmospheric science. We've got one 4-H'er that has become a farmer, and she's very vocal and out there concerning water. So we're appreciative of those 4-H'ers that have come through this program and seen what's gone on.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you to you all. I really encourage everyone to read the full report. Every single one of these stories is just remarkably inspirational. I legitimately enjoy learning from each and every one of our awardees year after year. And it is such a pleasure to be able to present this list of awardees. I'll encourage anyone, like I said, the contact information for all of our awardees can be found at gawater.org/clean-13. In the slide deck from today and in the report itself. Please do follow up with the awardees directly with any further questions. And with that, I will wish you all a good morning, and thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Jesse.
Congratulations, everybody.
That's all.